Welcome back, my Duelist friends. Casual Duelist here, and it's Sunday, so hopefully you guys have been having a pretty good weekend. Hopefully we can finish it out strong. To that end, I've got another spotlight for you guys, and today it's another skill card spotlight. So, Mind Control Joey. We sort of overlooked this skill the first time around. This one is Malicious Motivation. You flip this over when you activate the skill, like I don't know, like 85% of the skill cards or so. Um, and again, what is this going to do? Once per duel, if your opponent controls 3 monsters, discard 1 card, destroy all monsters the opponent controls, and for the remainder of this turn, any damage your opponent takes is halved. Oh my goodness. Do you guys understand this is great? This is a great skill card. Now, I'm not saying it just because it's got flashbacks to our last Speed Duel Spotlight where we did this straight flush trap card, and we talked about how if the opponent controlled a spell trap in every one of their spell trap zones, we could wipe their spell trap zones out. And the fact that it's just easier in Speed Duel because, again, instead of all 5 spots being used, we're down to the 3x2. So it's much easier for a defense break deck to side one of these just for that. Same thing goes here. You can side deck skill cards, guys. I understand this isn't like a big thing that a lot of people do. And maybe I'll build this deck to where I start putting this into the side. But if we build a nice defensive deck, and I think I've got one in mind, what we can do is we can go ahead and get the opponent just zoned up. We can do that. And then we can march through them by just taking all their monsters real quick. This is a very easy to activate strategy. We could probably main deck this thing. Actually, I'm getting more ideas as I'm talking. I do notice a couple of things. Number one, the monsters do not have to be face up. They just have to control monsters. These can be set. So I've still got some cards sitting here. They could have 3 set monster cards. That would be fine. They could have, one up and 2 of those, and like one of them could actually be a token, and that doesn't matter. What matters is 3 is the magic number, and then for 1 card, we essentially, Lightning Vortex or Geki, or whatever you want to call it, we get to go ahead and break the board. Now, there are some quick cards I want you guys to think about. And you know what? The more I'm thinking about this, the more this is the next Speed Duel deck. Gillosaurus is not a condition for us. We get to special summon it just because we want to. But the opponent gets an option to special summon. When does your opponent say no? Well, unless they are as familiar with as we are, this skill remains face down until flipped. So unless they know all the Mind Control Joey skills, and what are there, like 1, maybe 2? I get a whole stack. I have got every skill in the game. But I could check that later. I could check that. And if it turns out that there's only 1, then this is okay. You could predict this as an opponent. But if they side deck it, and I have done this a couple of times, the whole thing is you got to have a skill to swap with. It's a lot like side decking extra deck cards, and again, for the most part, you always want to play the extra deck based on what you're actually going to play. Since a lot of my decks focus around tech or toolbox or just playing into a simple archetype, a lot of times when things aren't fusion based, I just use Waking the Dragon into a basic extra deck of fusion monsters that do good things. Which is not a bad idea. It's always a good idea. You should always have an extra deck with you. Just even if you don't, like your opponent might go, he might have Waking the Dragon. Maybe I'll take a little caution before I activate my Mystical Space Typhoon. And it's just those little moments of hesitation and stuff. Sometimes it's enough to your opponent's like, well, I thought you might have had that, so I let it go, and I shouldn't have. And you're like, yep, well, that happens. It's fine. But you could side deck this, and then you're not telegraphing it, and you could still play a deck that does something like this. And again, it's not hard for somebody to get 3 monsters on their side of the field. Even if your opponent plays their own Waking the Dragon, you bop it, suddenly they have another monster. Now, what do? Well, I'm going to use that and the other ones, and I'm just going to destroy them all in one fell swoop. It's a good answer to a lot of things. Since it's a skill card, things like Jinzo's Spell Canceller don't really help you here. It's not exactly a targeting effect. It's just like a blank wipe. So even cards as tough as Obelisk the Tormentor really can't stop this from happening to themselves. And it's just good. It's probably only going to be surprising once, but if you can build a good main deck around or a good side deck around this, and just focus on making sure that your opponent does get to play a lot of cards, and maybe your effects don't destroy stuff as often, then it's a good way to set your opponent up to just get blasted. So that's it. That's the whole thought. I'm going to try my best in the next few days to get this done as our early week speed duel deck. And yeah, you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I hope to see you guys on the next one, all right? See you later.